Hi, and thank you for joining us today on our second of 5 webinars in our series titled Organizational Immunity. My name is Dee Coca, the Chief Evaluation Officer with Sterling International. This second session is titled Reinventing Your Business. I would like to start by welcoming back Ala El Hawagi. Hi, Ala. Thank you for joining me again today.
Hi, thank you.
Ala serves as an organizational systems strategist, consultant, executive coach, and organizational development professional. He is the chairman of the board of Sterling International, headquartered in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and the former CEO of Innovative Group, headquartered in Pompano Beach, Florida. Our webinar today will be divided into 3 parts. First, we'll have our discussion, Ala, and then we'll take some questions from the audience. And then if time allows, I'm going to ask that you give us a brief recap at the end.
Very good, very good.
As we continue with our series of organizational immunity, why don't we start by you sharing with us what you mean by reinventing your business?
I think the reinvention piece here is really focused on tooling up for the new circumstances, tooling up in reference to leading our teams, are the Tuckman model, which is going from forming all the way to performing, needs to be revisited now. Are there things that we need to, are our teams going back to the forming stage during these circumstances, and we need to be sensitive and aware of that. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. I'm also going to talk about some scenarios concerning the potential impact, whether we are talking about scenarios for our workforce, for our customers, business partners, facilities, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so how do we begin? Where does it all start?
Okay, well, before we take a deep dive, let me share with you a couple of important what I call themes, facts, and suggestions. Okay, first are the themes. The greatest mistake a human being can make, as you already know, is to be afraid of making one. Okay, my wife and I, raising our son Omar, we always allowed him to do mistakes. In fact, we numbered the amount of mistakes he can make per week, as long as he doesn't repeat those mistakes. And as he gets older, we kind of minimize or reduce those number of mistakes. Take an organization like Disney, for instance, who has reset the quality standards globally. Not only they accept mistakes, they celebrate mistakes. The larger the number of mistakes and the deeper the mistakes are, the bigger the bash that they throw every year, because it's a learning opportunity. We all do mistakes. So the message here is focus on betterment and be kind to yourself. Okay, don't beat yourself up, because you will continue to make mistakes during this time and otherwise. My second theme, if you will, is name it to tame it. What I mean by that is we need to work on finding the vehicle that will allow us to define what is it that we're trying to improve. Okay, I cannot improve what I cannot see. I cannot improve what I cannot identify. A couple of facts I want to share with you also. With the recent major survey that was done here in the United States shows that 60% of businesses have gone beyond responding to the current state. What does this really mean? Businesses today are focusing on how to build their future, which is, I find it to be great news. And we're going to touch on that as we go through the webinar. The second fact is what we all face, this virus or this situation is included, is really an event. It's an episode. This does not determine our success. What determines our success, however, is how we respond to the event. So our behavior is going to become one of those main factors that's going to determine how successful we're going to be through what we are going through right now. The 2 suggestions I'd like to give is, one is stay focused, stay present, stay agile, as we always say. Things which matters most must have the priority, whether we're talking at the personal level or the business level. So the theme is optimization, not minimization. How can we optimize costs? while planning for the rebound, because the rebound is around the corner. The second suggestion I will give, evaluate the impact of the current state on the economics of your business using the canvas that I am going to discuss later on. So ride the storm while actually preparing business to be lean in the future once this is over.
Okay, so as we talk about reinventing the business canvas, do you want to give us some introduction about what that is before we pull that up and start going through that?
Of course, of course. Let me give you first my what I call my top 5 item list, okay, which will really help everybody kind of go through the canvas effectively. Okay, number 1 is you are in your current position because you have been entrusted by your organization, by your leaders to act. So keep that in mind, act accordingly, okay? Number 2, formalize. I always talk about support system. Who's your support system? What can you do to connect with your support system, etc. My message here is kind of shifting it a little bit, which is every one of us need to formalize a board. Every one of us needs to have a board. And these are acronyms to represent the characteristics of people that you need to be looking for, okay? For instance, let me take them one by one. B stands for, you're looking for someone that can be there for you all the time, okay? O stands for someone that can help you own your actions, okay? A is someone that is directly and indirectly willing to raise your awareness. So A for awareness. The more aware I am about what's going on around me, the more effective I am going to be to connect to that. And R stands for reward achievements, not time. Okay, the focus needs to be on focusing. The focus needs to be on making sure that you are rewarding the achievements, what people achieve, not the time that they spend achieving what they're achieving. And the D stands for someone who is dedicated with their knowledge, skills, and abilities to connect with you in order to get to where we need to go.
Okay.
Finally, you need to ensure that you have regular live meetings. Okay, phone calls do not cut it these days. So you need to have those regular live meetings with your team members. Thank goodness for technology. My 4th point is what I call the inspiration for implementation. You know, everybody knows about the chain TGI Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. I'd like to call it TGIIF, which is thank God it's an inspirational Friday. Can we agree that every Friday we share a story that inspired every team member in the week based on the use of the Reinventing business canvas? And obviously, if your week ends on Thursday, you need to change accordingly. So it's going to be like TGIIT. Lastly, you really need to focus greatly on re-engineering your processes, at least the core processes that your business go around them. So value-added flow analysis probably is the way to go. Your internal expertise within the organization, whether the center of excellence or the business excellence, whatever that unit's called or that team is called, this is who they're going to lead the efforts throughout the organization. Now we can start the talking a little bit about the business canvas. And I don't know if the business canvas is being shown right now or not, because I cannot see it. Can you see it, Dee?
Let me turn it on for you here. Cancel. Okay, can you view it?
No, I cannot view it, but I can talk about it, but I cannot view it.
Okay, let's speak to it then. Let's start with your
Okay,
first.
all right. Now, okay. Okay, so here is what I am going to be talking about. The canvas is really, it's something that most people in business knows about, so it's nothing new with the idea of canvas. But what I try to do is to put some questions that will help us under the different segments of the canvas to help us navigate. So I want everybody to remember that it's a base that you can work from. Okay, it is a series of questions, obviously, that you can answer about your organization, about your business, about your current state. Here it is. Okay, and also you can add to it, subtract from it, modify it as you see fit. The other thing I want to talk about also before I get into the canvas is the organizational agility. The canvas is hinged on the fact that you have an organizational agility. And I want to take a moment to differentiate between agility and adaptation because they are not the same. Okay, when we talk about adaptation, it's an evolutionary process. Okay, over a period of time, some things happen that evolve for you to be adapting to it. Agility is about those subtle but continuous series of nudges that you have to adjust quickly to it in order to become ever dynamic in facing what you are facing. So thank you very much for showing that canvas. I can see it now clearly. And what I'm going to work through here there are a series of questions, and I encourage everybody to download it. I believe it's on the in the chat, so you can download this in both Word and PDF. If you can't, we're going to send it to you with the email after the webinar, so you'll have it both in Word and PDF, so you can work with. What I'm going to be focusing on now is the blue questions. And the reason we did it this way, because we don't have the luxury of time to go over all the questions. So I'm going to focus more, and if we have time, we can come back to it. So the first one under key partners, okay. Which new business partners can we strategically collaborate with now, during this time, and in the near future? Okay, I am sure the case for every business like ours, some of our business partners disappeared. They are not there. And others have evolved, others have emerged into our business and sharing with us some very, very exciting possibilities. So, and this is why I'm very optimistic about the current state and the future state as well. So strategically, one big piece here, but when we talk about strategically or operationally, who's leading this conversation of reinventing the canvas or the inventing business canvas? You remember last time, Dee, we talked about the command center.
Yes.
The command center is really where this is going to come from. So we need to go back and define that command center. Who did you define to be in your center in reference to individuals with what level of knowledge, what level of skills, what level of abilities, what ranks in the organization? This is not just strategic, meaning that only the C-level needs to be in the command center. Absolutely not. This needs to be made of the different levels of the organizations and the different functions of the organization. That command center is what's going to help us navigate through this period and the upcoming near future as well. So one of the things that we need to look at is, are there other strategic partners or partners that we can partner with now that emerging because of the current circumstances? Again, it depends on your industry. It depends on how you set your business model. That question can be answered intelligently based on that. Before we get into the key activities, and as everybody can see in the canvas, we have two segments or two areas for the customer. So let me jump from the key partners to the customer segmentations or the customer segments. Let's look at the second question. Have the customer's needs changed? Okay, and this, it depends on the customers, whether they are key accounts for you or otherwise. Have their needs changed because of the current circumstances? If I have to guess, more than likely, yes. Okay, what does this really mean? What are some of the things we need to look at the business to address those needs and those changes in the needs? Will our customers base be the same? Are we going to lose some customers? My guess, maybe. Are we going to gain new customers? My guess also is yes. So identifying the current customers, who are we going to lose because of why, and we need to look at that. Who are we going to gain because of why, and we need to capitalize and leverage that. My last question in this would be, how can we lower the entry barriers for new customers? This is where you need to start looking at the process in that area, okay? Every organization have their own requirements, their own entry requests that they need to address in order for new customers to come in. This is an area that we need really to put a good focus on, because we may find that we can make it a little bit easier on our customers to join, to ask for our services, to reach out to us, et cetera, et cetera. So when we have this identification about the customers, about their needs due to the changes, about who we're going to gain and who we're going to lose, about entry requirements. Now I go to the key activities and ask this question. What do we need to change in our activities in order to fulfill those new customer needs? Those customer needs that came, the new ones that have changed. What activities do I need to change in my organizations in order to respond to the customer new needs? How much time do I need for that? Okay, can we shorten that time? Again, this is where processes comes in, and this is a core process. Any process that has something to do with the customer is a key process. Okay, so what can we do with processes in areas pertaining to the customers very, very quickly, if we haven't done that already, in order to shorten that time? Again, I go back to the value-added flow analysis that I have talked about earlier, and it becomes one of those that we can look at. So speaking of customers and key activities, well, let's finish the other part in green about customers, which is customer relationships. How effective are our current communication tools to stay in touch with our customers? And I talked about that extensively, if you remember the last time. This is so critical that you are staying in touch continuously and consistently with your customers, to take their pulse, to respond to their new needs, to discuss with them new areas, to discuss with them new collaborations that are possible after you've done your analysis internally. How does our organization need to present itself? Now, we are relying more on online per se. What is the image your organization need to be appearing to have? Whether we are talking technologically or even in person, as you're talking with your customers, did you prepare the right message to convey to your customers? What kind of questions do you ask? You have to be a master asker during this time, so you can get the right information through which you can help your customer with what they need. Now, let's focus a little bit in the middle on what we call value propositions, and this is really a big piece. Okay, how can we adapt our value propositions to the changing customer needs, and what is our niche in this? What I'm referring to here is the reason that your customer is doing business with you because as you were able successfully to answer why us. I think what I am encouraging people to do now is trying to answer the question of why us now, because in exploring this, you may find new areas, you may find that there are distinguished areas of your services that needs to bubble up to the surface, and that's what the organization needs to rally around. I trust during this time, people are going to be able to see new possibilities. They're going to be able to see new territories that they have never thought of. But it requires, again, this command center to frequently be meeting and discussing these type of issues using something like the canvas that we are sharing today. And by the way, thanks to technology, you can have those meetings online. You don't have to be in a room, but you can do that online. You know, when I was building this, I couldn't help going back in my thinking and say, what if we were facing what we are facing today in 1917, when was the last epidemic we faced? No technology, nothing to watch, nothing to listen to, nothing at all. How did people behave during that time? At least now we have a way to connect, we have a way to communication, we have a way to reach out to our customers and to each other to talk about these things. So key resources would be something that's going to come in evaluation. In particular, I want to speak to what key resources do we have? Right. Have we done an inventory of what we have? And I don't mean checking your bank account. That's self-explanatory. Each organization know their cash flow. I'm talking about the huge human resource element. Okay, what skills, knowledge, and abilities are there within the boundaries of the organization? Because sometimes we'll have to make switch. A person in a certain department go to another department because they have that type of expertise. So what resources do we have today? Everything. Facilities, communication, technology, people, money, everything. And what do we need? This is what we have. This is what we need. Okay. Channels. Okay. Another big piece. Are our distribution channels throughout the way we do business in danger today? Maybe because of restrictive of transportation, maybe because of restrictive of mobility, whatever it is, the case might be. Okay, are we able to do business remotely? And this is really a big piece. My guess is each industry has part of its business that can be done remotely. Organizations reinvent themselves. Some of the restaurants here, as you know, Dee, in Florida, that have never done delivery, because they are completely shut down, they went complete delivery. Okay, it's an example of people thinking out of the box to find out, can we create new channels to deliver the business or to deliver our expertise or to deliver the services and the goods to our customers or not? And if they are in danger, what can we do about it? Okay, two more things, and then we'll be ready to move on. The cost structure. Okay, there are four things that we need to discuss under that. Please do not ask, what can I cut? Rather ask, what do I really need? Because once you define your need, once you define your key activities, once you define your key resources and how you allocate them and reallocate them, things are going to be vividly clear to you. Okay, and you're going to be making more sound decisions. The second thing is it possible to reach a break even with existing resources? Okay, I am not suggesting every business in existence because they make profit. Okay, if there's no profitability, there's no business. Okay, I understand that, and everybody in business understands that concept. But there are times where you work just to break even. This circumstance, if it means to protect my resources, human resources and otherwise, means that I'm going to break even for X number of months, that's very wise. Okay, so you need to study the break even point in your business in what can be done in order to sustain that. Which products can be cut due to the low priorities? this is the time to start focusing on high leverage points in your organization. What are our high leverage points? What do we need to put as a high priority for our organizations from our products and services, and rally and shift our resources to there? I trust this can be done wonderfully, and it can yield some fantastic outcomes. Lastly, under cost structures, for my workforce, for my team, for whatever department I'm leading in the organization, what other knowledge, skills, and abilities do they possess that can be used within the department or can be exported to another department within the organization to help out, because we have identified that department or that product or that service as a leverage point. Lastly, the revenue streams. Are our customers continue to be willing to pay the same premiums as they used to? Well, if not, what do I need to do? That's a very, very important question, because that is going to redesign our products and services and how they reach to the market. And my last question I'm going to address in the Canvas, are there other revenue streams from current customers? That's when you actually cross-selling. Maybe there will be some new ideas coming to you, and you won't be surprised. I won't be surprised, because I have lived that several times, that the best ideas come in your organizations comes from your front line. It doesn't have to come from the ballroom. It doesn't have to come from the chiefs of the organization. And I respect and I love every chief in every organization for what they do. And thank you so much, executives, for what you are doing today to lead your organizations. But this is a message to all of you to reach out to your front line, to reach out to those who are conducting the business day in and day out. Listen to them. Take ideas from them, because they are the one that at the end, they can really do some amazing things, not only to save the organization, but to start crafting how the organization is going to look like in the rebound phase, which I believe the planning for it must start now. Again, what I try to do here is to go over the Canvas very quickly, stress on some of the key questions, give a little bit of explanation to those questions. But what I am really asking everybody who is listening to us today, and thank you so much for doing that, is to really take this and toy with it, okay? This is not a prescription, okay, that is given to you, but these are guidelines, these are thoughts, these are questions. You can add to them, you can take away from them, you can magnify some of them. Hopefully, as you discuss this in your command center and with people around your teams in the organization, that you will be able to reach to some ideas, some new ones, or possibly leverage of what you already have between the walls of your organization.
Okay, what I really like about this, and you've also addressed it, talking about listening to the front line, as we said in our last webinar, how critical that really is to get that feedback. But I think another test of the two-way communication mechanism within any organization is also under the customer relationship category. When we're talking about current communication tools, customers need to be able to give you the feedback, and you've got to be able to listen to it, not make assumptions that, well, it's not necessary, not enough people are interested. Any of their ideas are worth pursuing, because you don't know where that's going to lead you next. I think something else that I feel really does need to be on this, but I don't see it here, is benchmarking. Who outside of your industry, because this is the time to get creative, who are you benchmarking when you've got an issue that is something you haven't seen before? What industry where does what you're looking to do? Look into what they're doing. I have a very quick example of what I'm talking about. I had attended a conference, and there was a superintendent of schools, and she was talking about how it was a tremendous issue regarding the safety and the timeliness of children being picked up and dropped off each morning and afternoon from school. and the school had thought very hard. The school district were not coming up with solutions until they started to benchmark outside their industry, and they questioned who else is going to be as adept at dropping off and picking up precious cargo as ours, and they benchmarked FedEx. That makes total sense. We're talking about packages or little ones, but the bottom line is they got to make sure everyone is where they need to be safely and on time. And that's how they found their solutions. So I just want to pose that as an idea for how people can think outside the box and where they can seek an industry that is looking to address the process that they are having a struggle with addressing. Okay.
It's an excellent point, and it's something that, as you already know, Dee, and Sterling International, what we do, what we help our organizations that we work with, is the fact that they do that benchmarking. And benchmarking, it doesn't have to be in the same industry you're in, but in what you are looking for.
Yeah, a process.
Yeah, if you're looking for promptness, if you're looking for service, if you're looking for speed, if you're looking for whatever you're looking for, what are the role model organizations that I can model after that are within that particular characteristic in the business that I'm after? So thank you so much for the example. Yeah, it speaks to really what we are trying to achieve here. Beautiful.
Looks like we're getting some questions from the audience regarding this, and they're asking, what do they tackle first? Looking at this canvas, how do they prioritize? What areas are we needing to dive into first? Are we talking about the customers, key partners, activities? When you're looking at this, when you're faced with this situation at hand, where do you begin? Are you working from right to left, left to right? How do you know where to start?
Oh, the answer is yes. What I mean by that is, which part of your body you need to focus on today? Do you need to take vitamins for your eye, or you take vitamins for your stomach, or you take vitamins for your back, or you take? We're talking about systemic approach. You cannot look at any of these items in isolation of the other items. You have to be working through this canvas parallel. You have to be activating all of them together, because as you've seen, and I know it was a very quick overview, they are very interconnected. So whatever you're going to be doing, in deciding on the key partners, that's going to impact your customers, and your customers are going to impact your key activities, and your key activities are going to impact your resources, and your resources are going to impact the channels. So it's all interconnected. So please do not look at this in isolation. And yes, you need to collect data, and you need to collect it very quickly from your organization. And you need to validate that data that you are collecting so you can make sound decisions. But you need to work through the canvas parallel. It has to be integrated as you're working through it.
Okay, when I'm looking at this is actually making me think of a more expanded version of a SWOT analysis. And I guess if one were to think of it in that regard, you're looking at everything in all directions. You're trying to find your blind spots and trying to address what you need to do. And that's what I like about this canvas, is that it also gives these questions are a good launch pad for where to start. Of course, they could be adapted to each business, as they need to modify, but I think it's a good place for them to begin. Before we move on, because I think we've got a lot of questions coming in from the audience. Is there anything else about this that you would like to address?
I think I have covered what I needed to cover with it. Frankly speaking, consider it a living document, a document that you need to visit very frequently, that you have dialogues and conversations in the organization about it frequently. It's something that is live, that you keep providing information to it, and you put it on some sort of a shared drive where people add information, people customize questions, people do what they need to do with it. But more importantly, I want everybody to focus, and I think I wrote this clearly under the key partners. Your major key partner in this are your employees, your workforce. Yeah. Dee, you have been a witness. I mean, I trust since these events have started, all our business partners all over the world have been asked to stay home.
Yeah.
I don't mean visit the office when you feel like it. I mean, do not show up in the office because we locked down the office and it has been locked down for weeks. But guess what? Our productivity has increased.
Okay.
Our productivity has tremendously increased in the last 3 weeks over in a production that we've done in months. So this is not because the organization is run by a genius. Absolutely not. This is because the organization is made of people who love the organization, who care about the organization, who are extending themselves fully in order to support the organization in every possible way. And when you give the support needed to your folks internally in the organization, when you send them a message, say, I love you, I am with you, I hear you, and we got a message. I got a message from one of the organizations in Egypt, Al Arabi Group, to name one, 35,000 employees, in sending this messages to them saying, your salaries are going to come on time. We love you. You're going to be with us. We'll never get rid of any of you. Imagine the impact of this on the people. Go back to Herb Kelleher and Southwest Airlines when they started, and how they were able to develop formula that has been the dashboard for the airline industry today, because they reached it out to the front line. They reached it out to their folks. Please, for all the leaders listening to me today, please do not make that mistake. Do not make decisions in the chief room without reaching out and making the command center, activate the command center so they can give you the right feedback so you can make the sound decisions. That is, I cannot emphasize this enough, Dee, because without this is going to be another document that sits on someone's desk.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I'm going to take some questions here from the audience. We have touched a little bit on this, but I don't think it's a bad thing to revisit a couple of these here. Looks like Mohammed Wafiq asked a question here. In the Canvas, do we need to follow a specific sequence?
I think, Mohammed, I have answered that question. And knowing you, you are a customer experience expert. So probably by default, you're going to get into that customer segment. Nonetheless, I will highly recommend, as I mentioned before, that you really need to look at all the components of the Canvas and work through it parallel. Because that will ensure the integrated final solution that you're going to come up with. And here's the interesting part. It doesn't matter where you're going to start on the Canvas. Guess what? You're going to find going back to another area to tweak it based on the changes that you made and whatever you are working on. So work on whatever you can work on, but keep in mind that this is subject to change and adjustments based on what the other areas of the Canvas will tell you.
Okay, because people are also commenting on how this connects with the systemic thinking and how do we approach this holistically. So I think we're addressing that and understanding this as a big picture. But do you want to speak more on that? Because that seems to be a theme that are coming in with our questions right now, just to try to help get them the correlation between what we're looking at here and how we bring that into the systems thinking aspect of things.
Oh, of course. Yeah, every time you say systemic, yeah, I'd like to talk. Definitely. So,
no, you do.
So when we talk about key partners, what part of the system are we addressing? We're addressing leadership. We are addressing workforce, Cat 1 and Cat 5. When we talk about customers, customer segments, and customer relationship, what are we addressing? Customers, which is Cat 3.
Excuse me, Ala, excuse me for a second. What you're speaking to is the Sterling International criteria, which is broken into 7 different components.
Oh, thank you. Yes, because okay, let me take a step back. The Sterling International model have a systemic approach to address the needs of the organization. Those elements of that system are fully integrated, okay? And this is why I say the Canvas, in a way, represents that integration as a part of that Sterling model. The 7 criteria in the Sterling model is leadership, strategy, customers, measurement, analysis, and knowledge management, workforce, operations focuses on governance and processes, and business results. So those are the 7 CATs that are integrated, connected to create an organizational system that ensures not only achieving performance excellence, but sustaining that performance excellence. Mm-hmm. Well, how does this fit within that system? Well, key partners, CAT 1 and 5, leadership and workforce. Okay, customer relations and customer segments, CAT 3, the customers. Value propositions, strategy. Okay, key resources, again, we're talking about CAT 1 and 5. Key activities, support whatever is happening with everything we talked about. Channels is processes. Work propositions, which is CAT 6, operations. Work propositions is CAT 6. When we talk about cost structures and revenue, we are in a way are connecting these 2 elements to the business results in what comes out of those business results. And remember what I said when I said Canvas needs to be based on collected and validated data? Mm-hmm. That is CAT 4 in the system, which is measurement, analysis, and knowledge management. So as the Sterling International model is integrating its 7 criteria, the Canvas is in a way is a replica of that in a much, much, much watered down way that will help an average person in any organization, in any industry, in any size, to be able to go in there within their position in the organization, be able to answer these questions. And this is why I cannot emphasize enough why the command center needs to include folks cross-functional as well as at the different vertical layers of the organization.
Okay, and just as a thought going forward, if this is going to be posted on the website, maybe we can put those categories within these boxes here to help cross-reference for the individuals who are gone through this training, because it helps drive home the point of what we're talking about here and then correlate it into the full systematic assessment.
We can do that, but I really would like to look at the Canvas as more of a simple, quick tool that can scan what we need to do right now, and then respond to what we found in that scanning, and let the integrated, sophisticated approach kind of work itself through that. That would be my suggested approach to this.
Okay, so no. All right, let's go to this. Another question from the audience. This one is from Saif Orabi. Can someone clarify the function of the command center? Is it equivalent to the crisis management team?
Well, it's a more of it can be, except I don't like the term crisis, but it is in a way. It is in a way. What this is, and I like that command center to be an idea that actually in the organization as a permanent place for it, where these are almost like, I like to look at it as a think tank. The command center is a think tank. Really, that's a good way of putting it. It's a think tank that capture different levels of the organizations vertically and different functions of the organization, so they can speak to the goodness of the organization collectively. Because no one in the organization, I don't care who is that person or at what level, can see all the angles of the organization at one point. Mm-hmm. But having these different folks from different levels and from different functions will allow not only to find the optimum solution, but also will convert the organization automatically to what I call a learning organization. So mm-hmm. in a way, Saif, you can look at it as a crisis management team, if you will, but this is taking it even a much higher. Something that doesn't have to be related to the crisis, but rather it's a continuous way of doing business in the organization, having a think tank to always think out of the box and come up with some new solutions.
Okay, we have time for just one question here. Tamer Ali is asking, I believe this canvas needs an agile mindset. Would you agree?
As I mentioned at the beginning, Tamer, one of the founding elements that the canvas is based on is agility, not adaptability, agility. And agility, we're going to speak to that in one of the upcoming webinars when we talk about change management and what are some of the things that we need to focus on. Agile organization is a successful, sustainable organization. Otherwise, it depends on however you are positioned or whatever you have at the time of need. So agility is no longer something that is nice to have in today's progressive organizations. Rather, it's a must-have. So that's if I'm going to lift this canvas off the sheet of paper to a third dimension, I think what's going to lift it is agility, and I totally agree with that.
Okay, that's all that we have time for questions. Can you recap for us your highlights of this for today briefly?
Oh, of course. Okay, so my handy dandy list. Okay, so number one, formalize your own board and formalize it very quickly. Okay, and remember the acronym, what B stands for, O stands for, A stands for, R stands for, and D stands for. Okay, which basically you're looking for someone that is going to be there for you. You're looking for someone that's going to help you own your actions. You're looking for someone that continuously and consistently and unconditionally, directly and indirectly raise your awareness, and not to yes you, but to raise your awareness, which includes that, oh, by the way, you are wrong. Here's what you need to do. You need to look for someone for the R who can reward the achievements, not time. Not because I'm not in my office, I'm not doing my job. No, I can do my job. I can double my performance and you can never see me. And number three, you need to look for someone who's dedicated with their knowledge, skills, and abilities to become your coach, to become your mentor, to guide you along the way. So this is the first point. My second point, definitely activate the command center and activate it very quickly in your team, in your department, organization, in order to focus on the current phase and also be ready for the rebound. Number three, confront the reality of the current state, but please, please, please plan for the future. This is an amazing opportunity. And by the way, I cannot imagine someone really responding to the current state or the reality of where we are today without planning to the future. It comes hand in hand. Number four, use the Reinventing Business canvas effectively. Again, this is not a prescription, but these are guidelines. These are questions. Modify them, add to them, build them up. Have your own canvas. Have it with your logo, with your company stamp on it, because this is going to be how you're going to be doing business, and revisit it often. Number five, conduct value added flow analysis on your core processes. I cannot emphasize this enough. You're going to find that some of your processes that takes weeks can come down to days, and some of the ones that take days can come down to hours. Number six, go live and inspiration for implementation, TGIIF Friday, because this is the time where you want people to feel good about themselves, to feel good about their achievements, and you can make it in the context of the canvas. So after you establish the canvas, make the inspiration story about I achieved item number 7B and value propositions, or whatever the case might be. That's all what I can share as a summary. Dee, I would like to mention something as well. After our last webinar, as you know, our team was discussing other ways of helping business navigate this critical time. We all agree that the best way to help organizations right now is to give them a platform where they can ask a question or bounce an idea off of either myself or any of the team of global executives that we have in our organization. We have implemented an email. I trust it's on the chat room right now, where we are calling it Organizational Immunity Resort. Okay, people need answers now. It can be something quick. It can be something that needs discussion. We believe that during this time, they shouldn't have to pay to ask a question. So Sterling International, as you already know, is founded on the philosophy of bettering communities and giving back. So let us say that our neighborhood has just gotten a little bigger very quickly. So I'm encouraging businesses of all sizes, all industries, wherever you are. If you're listening to us now and you can spread the word, is to email your questions to us, free of charge, by the way. The more we pull together, the better things can be. The email address for this, as posted in the chat, is myimmunity@sterlinginternational.com. We'll be looking forward to receive those questions and answer those questions.
Okay, we have a couple of questions that they're hitting on the same themes, and I'm hoping that if you don't mind, we can squeeze in just a couple more, but if you can keep your answers brief.
Of course.
We do that? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna give this name a try. I apologize in advance. Ozzy, how can we change the employee focus from feeling panicked to productive and engaged?
This is Aus Fauzi, and he is one of the HR leaders at Earthlink Iraq. Earthlink is one of the leading organizations in the country. In the first webinar, we talked a lot about the calming impact that leaders have. I also talked about the importance of leaders to do two things. One, to be visible, and the second one, for their voice to be heard. And I trust that this is very critical. They need to receive messages, continuous messages, from the leader of the organization, as well as from the leaders of their departments and teams. Yes, it is tough time, but I trust that every organization has gone through some challenges before, and they came much stronger after those challenges. Go back to your organizational archive and look at some historic events that the organization has gone through, and it looked like an impossibility, but at the end you prevailed, you succeeded, and you forged ahead. Those are the best times to share those stories. The making employee feeling at ease by those calming messages frequently, and by engaging them into the new dashboard that we talked about last time, because the command center will create a new dashboard with new priorities. A busy mind is a safe mind. Okay, so keep people busy, give them something to do, and you need to keep them busy because the organization needs their effort, except they may be focused on something different. They may be doing something out of the ordinary for them that's make them uncomfortable, but showing the support, giving them the technical expertise that you have, ensuring that those messages from the executives of the organizations come timely, consistently, not to communicate it once and forget about it, but consistently. It's almost like every week there need to be a broadcast about a message coming from the CEO or from the chairman of the board or something that helped.
Okay, let's move on to the last question here, and we'll have to keep this down just to a few minutes response, okay?
Yes.
Mahmoud, Awadala is asking, CEOs think their companies are more agile than they are. When and how to convince CEOs to start taking action?
One is to encourage them to listen to our next webinar because we're going to talk about agility. And I think agility is one of those terms that are easy to understand but difficult to define. and I think there are some assessments on the market today, and I'm going to suggest a couple of them next time, that organizations can take to really reflect. And it's a very, very good question by Mahmoud, is how to ensure that we are agile. Okay, I have the healthiest body ever. Well, I can say whatever I want, but is it? Well, there are measures, and there are measures for agility. There are measures for any other organizational characteristics. How can we prove scientifically with data that we are or we are not, and based on that, what we need to do? I trust that this is from the goodness of their heart and willingness to do the right thing, but I think this is the time to confront reality. So I think we need to provide tools to our executives to be able to judge these terminologies right during this time.
Okay, that has to wrap up. That's the last of the time that we have. But if there's any other questions that have been left unanswered, can we say that we're going to be giving responses to those individuals through the Organizational Immunity Resort email channel?
Absolutely. This is activated now, and it will continue to be activated till otherwise noted.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, on that note, thank you, Ala, and thank you to everyone joining us today. Don't forget to send your questions to the Organizational Immunity Resort email and download the Canvas from the link sent to all of you, our viewers today. We look forward to seeing you next Sunday at 6 p.m. Cairo local time for the third session in our 5-part webinar series. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Dee.